and San Antonio Spurs. In doing his 20 years, he played with three of the game's top coaches, Pat Riley, Larry Brown, and Mike Fratello. He was elected to play in the 1988 NBA All-Star Game and averaged a career best 15.2 points per game in 1990-91. He is also Atlanta's all-time leader with 3,866 assists. He earned a pre-law political science degree from Marquette in 1985 and was honored by the Pro Basketball Writers with the 1990 J. Walter Kennedy Basketball Citizenship Award. Following the 1999-2000 season, Rivers was named Male Coach of the Year at the Rainbow Sports Complex. He served on the Junior NBA and Junior WNBA Advisory Council, offering instrumental guidance to players, coach, and parent training efforts for the recreational youth basketball leagues across the country. So please join me in welcoming Doc Rivers.
How's everyone doing? You guys ready to play some basketball? Well, I'm not here to take any 14-year-olds to the NBA yet. I'm here to watch you play and have a good time. One thing, I was watching all the young guys walk in, and I got to tell the parents, the first thing that struck me was that 2 years from now, they're going to be driving a car. And that is a scary, scary thought. So you're driving on the expressway and seeing one of them next to you behind the wheel. That's scary to me. How many of you want to be pro basketball players? Raise your hand. Well, before I start, I'm going to give you a little brief history on our team because every time I speak, people want to know about some of the players that I coach. And I'm going to start with Grant Hill. Grant Hill has been injured the last 2 years for our basketball team, and right now he's rehabbing. He looks great. The thing you love about Grant Hill is that he works every day. He works every single day to get healthy. And as a coach, that makes you feel great. The next guy most people ask about is Mike Miller. Mike Miller was Rookie of the Year 2 years ago, and he's another worker. If you're in this gym at times, he comes here and works out probably every day. Probably one of the best shooters that I've seen in the last 18 years. The next guy that I hear the most about is Darryl Armstrong. Darryl Armstrong is everything that an NBA basketball player should be. Everything. He was told 100 times that he wasn't good enough to make it to the NBA. He made it. He's undersized, not as quick as he used to be. He's a streaky shooter, but he has the biggest heart in the NBA. And if you ever have a guy like Darryl Armstrong on your team, chances are you're going to win the basketball game. He's a great, great teammate. And of all the things that stand out about him is probably that. The last guy everyone asked about is Tracy McGrady. Another worker, extremely coachable. And the best part about Tracy McGrady for me as a coach is as good as he is now, he has his scratch where he's under. He works every day to improve his game. A lot of you look at it now and think, what more does he need to work on? Tracy McGrady wants to be the best someday. And that's what he works on every single day, is trying to be the best. Not just the best player, he wants to be a winner. And that's extremely important to him. Again, as a coach, one theme of the four guys I just talked about was that they all work. They work every single day on the games, and that's extremely important. I played for 13 years in the NBA, and as a kid, my dream was to be a pro basketball player, like a lot of you guys. I just noticed that you raised your hand, and that's your dream, is to be a pro basketball player. I had great parents, and this message right I had great parents growing up. And basically what my parents did was they supported my dream. They didn't push me. They just got me to the contests and to the games, and they stayed out of the way. My advice to parents, and I have kids who I watch them play an AAU game. My advice to you is just to let your kid play, let the coaches coach, let the refs ref, and your job is to support your kids. And that's it. Every game, I hear them, and sometimes I'm one of those parents too who get involved and yell at the refs. It's not the refs' fault. Trust me, it's not. It's not the refs' fault when your team's not winning. And it's not the coach's fault when your son's not playing. I've never, ever met a coach who wanted to lose. That coach is doing whatever he can do to help his team win. And he's making decisions in his mind that are good for the team. Support your son. He's watching you. And when you're not handling that your son's not playing, then he's not going to handle not playing, and he's not going to be a good teammate. Support your kids. Be positive. Don't coach them. Just support them. Now listen to the kids. Any of you raise your hand. This is a estimate, but look in this room, it's probably around 1,600 kids. And my guess was about 1,000 of you raise your hands that you wanted to be pro basketball players. Well, let's do math. Each year in the NBA, 40. There are 40 new spots each year in the NBA. 40 new players coming to our league each year. 10 to 15 of those are European players. That puts it down to about 20 or 25 spots. So out of 1,000 kids who just raised their hand, 25 of you might make it. 25 of you in this room might make it. Now, I'm not here to discourage anyone. I think you all should go after your dreams, but you should also know what you're up against, and that there's no shortcuts. That there's going to be extreme work in whatever you choose, and the basketball is it. Then think about 25 of you in this room have a chance to be a pro basketball player. And if you're in pursuit of dreams, I was thinking about what I can talk about, what I should tell you. I'm going to give you some things that you need to think about when you're trying to achieve this goal. Number one is listen. Listen to your coach, listen to your teacher, listen to the old man on the street. Even if you think you know it already, listen to them. It's never too late to learn, and you never stop learning. This is my 20th year involved in NBA, and every time I hear another coach up there who's a grade school coach or high school coach, I listen because I might learn something. Open your ears, guys, and your eyes. Listen to your coaches. They might be telling you something that might help you become a better player. It might make the difference. It might make you one of those 25. Number two, there are no shortcuts. There are absolutely no shortcuts to becoming a better player. There's one thing you have to do is work. And it'd be a shame if you didn't make it. None of that's talking about just NBA, make it to college. Make it in the next game you play because some kid outworked you. That should never happen. You should work as hard as you can. That makes you a better basketball player. It's not a happenstance. Guys like Daryl Armstrong made it to the NBA. He didn't take a feel or a potion to become a player. He worked on it. And of all the things I tell you, that's probably the number one thing I can tell you. That there are no shortcuts. If you want to become a better shooter, then go to the gym and shoot. If you want to become a better ball handler, then go to the gym and dribble the basketball. There's no excuses why you can't practice. You don't need a hoop to practice basketball. You don't need to be a ball sometimes to practice basketball. There's never an excuse why you can't practice. If there was one skill that I thought that every single kid had to have. If there's one skill that me now being a coach in NBA that we always look at is ball handling. I don't care how big you are, go grab a basketball and learn how to dribble. Go grab a basketball and learn how to pass and catch. Ball handling skills are the key to the game. You can be a great shooter, you can't dribble the ball, you can't get open, you can't go on the floor, you can't get to the spot that you want to get to. So if there's one skill that you have to have, learn how to dribble the basketball. It's the simplest thing you can do, but it's the most difficult thing. And it's the thing that most kids don't learn. I'm not talking about trick dribbles. I'm not talking about night video. I'm talking about learning how to dribble the basketball before the pressure and hitting the open man when he's open and after he's open. All handling skills are key. The third thing are excuses for losers. I've heard it all. Coach didn't like me, racist, rap, blew the game, turned my ankle. Listen, we all have excuses. And there's some kids that can have far more excuses than other kids. But that's what they are, they're excuses. And if you choose to use them, then you won't go where you want to go. Excuses are obstacles. Don't use them. Look at them like opportunities. Some of you absolutely will have to do more than others to become great basketball players. That's just the way it is. Things aren't fair. But if you use the excuse, you won't make it. Fight, work, do whatever you have to do, but don't use excuses. They are for losers. And when you hear people make excuses, they're usually talking about the game they lost. And they're talking about, we don't hear winners. You didn't hear Michael Jordan after winning the game use an excuse. You usually heard the guy on the other team use one. Don't use it. Fight against it. You will never be a winner until you get into defense. You will never be a winner until you get into defense. You will never be a winner until you learn how to be a good teammate. Those two things, to me, are as important as ball handling or anything else. Defense wins basketball games, being a good teammate wins basketball games. Those are things that most kids don't want to hear or talk about, but those are things that you have to do to be a winner. And those are things you have to do if you want to be one of those 25. When we're looking at players coming into the draft, we look at all the things. Being a good teammate. You know one of the things that every college scout and every pro scout does when you are graduating from college, when you're going hardship, we call every single player on the team you just played from. If you're graduating from the University of Maryland, we're going to try to get in touch with every single player you played with. And we're going to ask them one simple question. Was he a good teammate? Did you like playing or with him? It was one of the players. And there's more no's than yeses, and we're going to pass on that player most likely. We're going to pass on that player most likely. So when you look at your teammates right now, if I ask one of your teammates right now, if you are a good teammate, what's the answer? What would be the answer? It has to be yes. If it's no, then you need to work. You need to change. You need to do whatever you need to do to turn that around. Because you're not going anywhere until the answer is yes. More yes than no. There's a fine line in the NBA between the best player and the worst player. The more I'm around this game, the more that obviously talent is important, but the other intangibles are probably more important. And fundamentals of the game. Michael Jordan, I use him as the best example, was probably the best player to ever play the game in my opinion. Definitely the best player in my era. But while you guys are watching films, what you should be paying or should have been paying attention to is how fundamentally sound he was. Probably the most fundamentally sound player to ever play the game. So yeah, he can do all the fancy things, but to set that all up, he was fundamentally sound. Those are the things you guys should all be working on. Those are the things that are boring, things that you don't want to do, things that you have to do over and over again. Again, it comes back down work. Every place I talk to, I like telling this story. When I was in grade school, and my son was here probably has heard this a million times, I was asked around the board what I wanted to be in life. And I wrote, I want to be a basketball player. The teacher, he grabbed it and erased it on the board and said, "You don't listen." She said, "You have to change your goals. Those are too high. Write something else on the board." So I walked back up to the board and I wrote, "I want to be a pro basketball player." Once again, she erased it again and said, "Be realistic. Be realistic. Write something else up on the board." I walked up to the board and I was thinking about other things. Her friend, she was going to send me home from school. My dad was a police officer in the Chicago area, in Maywood, Illinois. And I was thinking about that going back up to the board. So I grabbed the chalk and I wrote, "Well, I want to be a pro basketball player." Because that's what I wanted to be. She sent me home and my dad was sitting in the driveway or sitting in the house and his car was sitting in the driveway. You always left the squad car running. Just in case something happened, they could run in and go chase the criminals. So I didn't know what jump. But when I walked into the house, he looked at me and said, "What are you doing home from school?" And I was 7 or 8 at the time. So what did I do? I started crying because, as you know, when you cry when you're at that age, your parents feel sorry for you. They might give you a break. So I cried my best cry. He looked at me and said, "Stop crying. What are you doing home from school?" And I said, "Well, I'm going to be a pro basketball player." And he looked at me and said, "You got sent home from school because you want to be a pro basketball player?" I said, "Look, the teacher called." He said, "Really? You got sent home from school because the teacher said you don't follow directions." The teacher also said that you don't listen in the classroom and your grades aren't that good and you goof around all the time. And so if that's your goal, there's no way you're going to make it. So that's why she was telling you to write something else up on the board. Because if you're doing all those things, you're not going to make it. So what are you going to do? I looked at him and I said, "Well, I want to be a basketball player. And if that's what I have to do, then I'm going to do it." Well, he walked me back up to the classroom and we walked in. And right before he put me in the classroom, he said, "Run the race. Run the race." And he said, "Finish the race." And I can tell you, that 7-year-old had no clue what he was talking about. But I walked back in the classroom and the teacher looked at me and I wasn't doubting, and I was playing. And she looked at me and said, "Glenn, write on the board now what you want to be." And I walked up to the board and I wrote, "Well, I want to be a pro basketball player." And she looked at my dad and my dad threw his hands up and walked out. Now, I can't tell you at 7 years old, that's all I did. I played baseball, I played football, I did everything. That's what you guys should do. But if you have a goal, think about it as a race. And if it's a race, think about hurdles. And if there's hurdles in your race, you're going to run into some of them. And when you run into them, you have to get back up and keep running. See, when you set high goals for yourself, you're going to have times where you're out in front doing this race. There's a couple of you in this gym right now who are the best player on your team, who is the best player in the state. And I'm going to tell you right now, don't get comfortable with that. Don't get comfortable with that. And that's what happens. That's the trap. When you're leading a race, you get comfortable, you start accepting all the pats on the back, you start thinking that you're going to win the race without running hard anymore. And there's those kids behind you in this gym who ran into the hurdle, who got back up, who are still running. They're going to catch you if you relax. Keep running. And if you're not ahead, keep running, because you might need to catch the person in front of you. The bottom line is, If it's a tough goal, there should be obstacles in front of you. Keep running the race, and don't stop running until you finish. Don't stop running until you finish. And if your goals are that high that you want to be a pro basketball player, I can guarantee you one thing, that there's only 20 or 25 of you who make it, who reach that goal. But all 1,600 of you try as hard as you can. Every single kid in this room will be successful in something. You will be successful in something. Use the basketball. Do not let the basketball use you. The last couple of days, my kids, I'm going to end with this. I've been laughing. I've been threatening to them that I was going to get up and say a speech where I was going to be screaming and yelling. They got nervous. They didn't want the day to embarrass them. And I tell them the last 2 days walking out of the door that if there's one word, maybe 2 words, that you should have every single day, they're these: passion and enthusiasm. Passion and enthusiasm. If you have those 2 things every single day, I guarantee you you'll be successful. I guarantee you. Passion and enthusiasm. When I look back on my childhood, I look back at me being 14 and my dad and my mom walked me back to school for not doing the right things. And I look back at why they supported me. My parents did not support me because they thought that I could be an NBA player. They didn't support me because they thought, man, if he can make it to the NBA, we can be rich. They supported me because they saw that I love playing basketball. That's why they supported me. My mom saw that I had a passion for the game. A passion for the game. Not that I was good at the game. She saw that I had a passion for the game. And I loved playing. I would shovel snow. I love the game of basketball. And I still love the game of basketball. And if you love the game, if you play with passion, you have enthusiasm, you'll go somewhere. But that's the reason you should play. I hope if any of you guys raise your hand, and I'm telling you this, and I'm being honest, if any of you guys raise your hand when I ask if you want to be a pro basketball player, and you raise it because you want to someday be rich, I never want to coach you. Never. But if any of you guys raise your hand because you absolutely love playing, that's how I want to coach. Because I'm going to win more with those than one. And listen, have a great time this week. Play hard, have fun, and if you cannot win, be brave to be attention. Good luck, guys. Thank you.